What is happening, YouTube? So the LA Clippers went to Atlanta on a road game. We face off against the Hawks, and we pretty much had a really solid dogfight against the Atlanta Hawks. And then the third quarter, we took control of it the most, and then the fourth quarter, we just pretty much got sloppy in general. And the first half was just fairly competitive. It was pretty much in both ways. Atlanta started off a little bit hotter, but then Clippers. It was pretty much a roller coaster ride. And this time, unlike last time, we actually got a W against the Hawks. So that is pretty good to hear. But tomorrow we face a, we face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers during the football game against the Bengals and the Chiefs. So I don't know if they will move that to be a little bit later or they postpone it to the next day. I highly doubt that. But it's going to be a pretty tough game tomorrow because the Cavs got the best front court in the NBA with Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and Darius Garland. And I don't know if Mitchell will be back, but if he's back, then that just helps the Cavs a lot. And it's going to be a really tough one tomorrow. And if we lose against the Cavs tomorrow, I won't be too surprised just because the Cavs are really complete. However, they are pretty inconsistent and they just lost against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So if we can get a W tomorrow against the Cavs, that would definitely be a really big plus. And plus, I bet we're probably going to load manage either Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. So that's going to be kind of a bummer. But if we do manage to beat the Cavs, that would be really good because it's the Cavs and it's a back-to-back road game, and that could be a true test tomorrow. And then we face against the Bulls, and then we face against the Bucks, which is the Bucks are going to be really tough as well too. They got Giannis, and they got their rebounding is pretty good, so we got to be on our A game for that, and that's where Ivica Zubac could be a really big factor to us. Shout out to Ivica Zubac. He balled out for us tonight, and still, despite him balling out, I bet a lot of people are still probably gonna disrespect him regardless. But anyways, let's get player by player. Anyways, since I pretty much went over the game, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is pretty much on a tear. Insanely efficient night. He's pretty much shooting over 50%, to be honest. Definitely 50% for sure. I don't know the exact math, but I think it's semi near 60% from the field. He is shooting like a center, his efficiency, but it's from the mid range and from the three. 50% from three as well, too. And he got 8 rebounds and 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and he only got 2 turnovers, which is Kawhi's. He always plays with control. He doesn't really go too crazy with the turnovers. He always takes it slow, but he always execute. Not really at this point. It's beautiful. We're getting our rhythm back, and it was pretty scary just 2 weeks ago. And fast forward to right now, we're pretty much in control in general. And this is probably the perfect time that the Clippers picked it up. So most likely our front office is less prone of being stupid and just trying to make a whole entire trade that would just dig us down a hole. Paul George, he also did pretty good as well too. He did get a little bit sloppy at the end. Pretty much it was kind of a team effort thing in terms of the Clippers almost blowing the game. It was kind of like a combination of Paul George and even Terrence Mann turned the ball over as well too, which is, man, that was pretty bad. But thankfully the Clippers just took control this time. Um, but Kennard, he was definitely reining it as well too. And he did make a play that he almost turned the ball over, but then he just made it up and just hit a three. So I just made it up a good amount. And he got 3 rebounds. And he even got a steal too. So that shows that his defense is. He definitely makes an effort on defense. And he plays pretty good with Terrence Mann. Shot 3 for 3, 11 points. Glad to see him play on the court again. Terrence Mann got 7 rebounds and 6 assists. He only scored 2 points, but he definitely gave it his all on defense, and he got 6 assists too. So Terrence Mann at the point guard, he's starting to show his Drew Holiday prototype really, because Drew Holiday is not the guy you would expect to throw the most flashiest pass in the world, kind of like Terrence Mann, but he just knows how to get the job done. And Ivica Zubac, he definitely did his job on defense today. He definitely was in front of the rim. Capella struggled to get some shots over Zubac. He got 6 rebounds, which is a little bit low. Well, pretty low for a big, but he did other things that definitely helped the team. 3 assists, that's a high assist game for Ivica Zubac. And he got a steal, and he got 2 blocks. And apparently, Zubac is pretty bad on defense. Nephew, you tripping. Okay, it's one thing to say that Zubac gets cooked in a perimeter, but to say that he's pretty trash on defense, and there's a lot of people who say that too, which is that's a whole new level of tripping. Like, nephew, you tripping. Simple as that. If you think he's completely trash on defense. Now, if you say he gets cooked on the perimeter, let's just say, or he gets cooked by guys like Adebayo or probably like a very skilled big, I could see that. But and of course he always has his off games when DeAndre Jordan did cook him. But most of the time, Zubac always usually does his job by setting screens and trying his best to protect the rim. And you can see when Zubac gets dunked on, like when people get dunked on, that shows that they definitely give it their all on defense. Like really, people could just easily just run away from the dunk and then just giving them a free wide open dunk, but nah. Zubac definitely gives it his all, and obviously he definitely showed up tonight if you actually watched the game against the Atlanta Hawks. But overall, I'm just happy that the Clippers are finally winning once again. But tomorrow is going to be a really fun to see, especially against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Now let's get down to the bench. Nico Batum, 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. He was definitely clutch, however, despite the stats, especially when the Atlanta Hawks were about to gain momentum. Batum just iced it with a 3. Just bam, from the corner. Norman Powell, he played pretty sloppy. He got 4 turnovers. He definitely got buckets, so it's more of his off game as well too, kind of like how he played against the Spurs. But it's been 2 back-to-back off games, which is it's all good. Everybody has that. Reggie Jackson is now the 6th man. He's no longer starting, but he was getting baskets as well too. He had a pretty efficient night, which is pretty good to see. And his defense actually kind of improved compared to just weeks ago. And 6 for 9, which is usually Reggie, which is more on the inefficient type of side. But when Reggie's efficient, that is definitely pretty key for the team. 3 for 7. And you can see the plus minus, he's plus 7. Moussa Diabate, I'm glad that I see him get a little bit of minutes, but obviously I would love to see more minutes, maybe like 15 minutes especially 15 minutes like throughout the whole entire game at least, especially if Zubac is off the floor. But despite of his stats, definitely does not look appetizing whatsoever. He just did cardio. He did the Tony Snell. But he definitely gave it his all on defense. I liked one play when he was switched onto DeJounte Murray, and DeJounte Murray just he kind of missed fairly badly when Diabate was guarding him. So that's one thing that I love about Moussa Diabate, and he's somewhat the opposite of Ivica Zubac, because Zubac, he's more like controlled, and controlled to an extent, except like when he when he would get the ball in his hand, he would tend to fumble it more easier. But he's more like stronger. He could bang down low with the bigger bigs, and he could protect the rim. But he's kind of slow on the perimeter. While Diabate, he's amazing on the perimeter. He's pretty lanky, but he's just a little bit lanky that he would get scored on by a bigger player. But it's all good, really. Everybody has their weakness, and I would definitely love to see Diabate get more minutes because his athleticism is definitely really good as well too. And the Clippers, in my opinion, I don't think there's a specific position that the Clippers really need to fill, as like how the other fans were saying. Everybody says get a backup big and all that. Like obviously, I'm more of a type of guy who would rather have Diabate as a backup big, but of course, getting a backup big would definitely not hurt. But overall, I just think the team just needs more athleticism. The team is kind of aging as well. It is fairly old. You only got guys like Boston Jr., Terrence Mann, and Diabate is more of the younger players, and Luke Kennard. So that's a decent amount of youth, but definitely getting younger would help. So, but overall, pretty good dub, and the rotations were they were decent, and Diabate got minutes, so it's a work in progress in my opinion. Tomorrow against the Cavs, I would kind of expect Diabate to get at least a double digits amount of playing time since the Cavs are running a really big lineup. Um, Moses Brown, I hope. I don't know if they're gonna. If Ty Lue's gonna choose to play Moses Brown. I think maybe the reason why the Clippers just chose to play Moses Brown so many minutes because they might have known that Diabate was the better player, but they don't want to use all of that up, and they want to save the best for last when it matters. And Moses Brown, they pretty much just got all of that time out of him because the limit is for a two-way player is they can only play 50 games in a season, I think. So I don't know, but definitely, I would look to definitely convert Diabate to a full-time contract because this guy is pretty special, and I don't, and of course, if you're just more of a casual game watcher and you don't watch like game to game or you don't watch the summer league, you will see, um, you might think that Diabate is nothing special, but when you give him real rotational minutes, you would definitely see that. But that's just my opinion. Now let's just get to the in-depth analysis with the opposing team. John Collins, he's really popular in the trade suggestions that the Clippers should get. I don't know the Atlanta Hawks asking price. I bet it's gonna be pretty high though. And Collins is a good player, and he fits the pretty athletic prototype. But I think it might be too expensive that the Clippers might have to dig another hole. And me personally, I don't want to risk seeing 10 years of Sendarius Thornwell, CJ Williams, and Jawan Evans just because you traded all the picks and your youth for a quote unquote proven player that will just help you win a ring for just 2 or 3 years. That's just my 2 cents. But Collins, nevertheless, he had a pretty efficient night 7 for 13, 5 rebounds, 1 steal. Um, Overall, a pretty solid performance. Me personally, I would rather shoot for a Cam Reddish because Cam Reddish, I feel like his trade value is pretty low, and I think the Clippers could go for a Cam Reddish for cheap because he could be like a small forward and a power forward type hybrid. More like a small forward, but his arms are definitely long enough to be considered as a power forward, and especially how the NBA is nowadays. The Clippers, I mean, not the Clippers, I mean the NBA in general, like teams would be able to run a really small ball lineup, and I see Cam Reddish as a good option in my opinion. DeAndre Hunter, DeAndre Hunter, thankfully this time he didn't go too crazy. He did not shoot 60% from the field. Instead, he shot 4 for 13 and 2 for 8, 7 rebounds, which is pretty good. 1 assist, 2 steals, which is he did solid. Nothing too special. Well, his field goal says otherwise. Clint Capella. Clint Capella, he returned for the Atlanta Hawks. He's been hurt for a long time. Probably why the Hawks have been doing pretty poorly, but other things as well too. Pretty dysfunctional team. Okongwu got a lot more minutes when Capella was out, and Okongwu, I'm gonna get into depth about him later, but for now, Capella, he's like a bruiser big man. 13 boards, 12 points, so he got a solid double double, and you know, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. But Zubac definitely held him in some of the possessions. But Capello, he did his job as a big man. So did Zubac as well too. Trae Young, Trae Young, he had a solid, nice 10 for 21 game. He definitely went to the free throw lines so many times. Like literally, he was getting all the favorable calls. He got 10 assists and 5 rebounds, which is actually pretty good for Trae Young, and he even got a steal. So pretty good game for Trae Young, I guess. But he did go to the free throw line, so that somewhat offsets it. But nevertheless, 10 assists. That is crazy. That's some Tyrese Halliburton type stuff. But after all, he is Trae Young. DeJounte Murray, however, he had a somewhat of an inefficient field goal game. He was 7 for 17, which is doesn't look too bad, but his threes was just not hitting, which is thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness. He did have 8 assists and 2 steals and 6 rebounds and 15 points in general. And the Hawks traded a lot for DeJounte Murray, so I don't know if that's worth it or not. I mean, DeJounte, he's an all-star, but I don't know if he's worth 4 first-round pick, maybe 2 first-round pick or 3 first-round pick, but he was an all-star to be fair, but he's more of the fringe all-star type player. He's not like, oh, he's top 5 NBA. He's not like a top 5 or a top 10 or top 15 player in the league, really. But I guess the Hawks definitely did try to make a splash to make Trae Young happy, so I guess that's that. But they did let go Kevin Huerter, who's balling with the Sacramento Kings. But I guess Bogdanovich offsets that, and Bogdanovich, he had a solid 4 for 8, 9 points. Somewhat of a quieter night. Okongwu, 9 rebounds as a bench, which is pretty impressive, and 6 points. But he had a really good rebounding game, and he's definitely the Hawks' bright spot for the future. And definitely, if I were the Atlanta Hawks GM, Okongwu would definitely be my untouchables other than Trae Young if I were to make an upgrade, which is, I'm sure they are. AJ Griffin, he had a really quiet night. I heard his past games, he definitely went crazy, but he had a more quieter game this time, which is, again, that's pretty good because it's annoying when we see some random role player just goes off against us. Jalen Johnson as well too. But nevertheless, Clippers winning streak are just continuing. Hopefully we can continue it. Against the Cavs, it's going to be pretty tough, but it's going to be amazing if we manage to pull it off. But it's going to be a really tricky game for tomorrow, and hopefully the Clippers, bring out their A game against the Cavs. And man, Atlanta to Cleveland just for the next day. The rest is going to be crazy, crazy low. And after that, we get a little bit of an easier game against the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls have been struggling, so hopefully we capitalize on that. And then we face off against the Bucks, and I forgot what's next. I think the Nets are upcoming, so it's going to be a really tough schedule. But anyways, let me know what you think about this game. It was pretty sloppy at the fourth quarter. You think we're going to pull off the W against the Cavs? You think it's going to be easy W, or it's going to be a really hard fought, or you think the Cavs might pull off a win tomorrow? Because the Cavs have been losing lately, so that's that. But we did beat the Cavs last time, so I guess that's one of the positive things if we're going to go if we're gonna go and face against them tomorrow. But anyways, have a great night and be sure to have a great Sunday tomorrow. And much love and take care. Okay.